All right, let's try that again. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. I hope you're having a great day that ends in Y, because why not? And, yeah, thanks for joining tonight. So, we are being broadcast live tonight, of course, on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and also on YouTube. So, hello, YouTube. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. You know which one it is. Like, subscribe, that kind of thing. And then no matter how you are listening, make sure you stop in one of the chat rooms and say hello. Or if you have a question, by all means ask it. And if you don't have access to a chat room, or if you are driving, just saying, don't text and drive, guys. Send me an email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. And that is wildepaisley@gmail.com. Hello, TFR. How you doing, Truth Frequency Radio guys and gals? This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Being broadcast live, of course, here and on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. If you have any questions, by all means, stop in and say hello in the chat room, or send me the email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. That is wildepaisley@gmail.com. The call lines are open tonight. I think I got it figured out. And if you want to do give a holler, share your 2 cents, 3 cents, a nickel, whatever it is. And the number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. Yeah. If you want to support my radio habit, please do so. I humbly beg you. You can do the cash tag, and that is $TheSpacesBetween. Oddly, without any spaces. Yeah, right. And then if you want to learn more about me and my path and my spiritual adventure as a pagan, you can go to the website. That is www.paisleywild.com. Hello, Sonia. Long time no hear. I've been meaning to text you. I'm sorry. I'm a bad friend. Hi, Marie. Justin. Lucky. Hi. Drone. Hi. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, send me a text there, Sonia. I hope things are going fab for you. Let's see, what else? Where was I? Ooh, the website. It's paisleywild.com. You can buy the autographed copy of my book there. It's The Wild Pagan, A to Z. I am still working on book number 2. It's about wishes. And let's see, what else? Oh, as long as you're checking out websites and doing that kind of magic on the interwebs, go to iLife.com. iLife is the official sponsor for Truth Frequency Radio. And iLife combines the goodness of the non-psychoactive properties of the ayahuasca plant with the high-quality CBD to help you do the things that you need to do. And lots of information on the website. Check it out. Really, truly. And for a limited time, if you use TFR in the coupon code at checkout, you get a little dab off, too. Yep. Hey, we all need to save where we can, when we can, right? I am doing mostly okay. Thank you. Sonia asked how I'm doing. So last night we talked about holistic care. And what does that really mean? It means taking care of all of you and the different ways to take care of all of you. And I got to thinking, I talk about shadow work periodically and how important it is. And that's when you bring up your inner repressed emotions and bits and pieces of you, and you work with yourself, sometimes with a guide, sometimes not. Kind of depends on who you are and how you work with others. And to work through them. and figure out who you are, even the repressed parts of you, your shadows, the parts that we don't acknowledge. And then, so I lost my train of thought. Anyways, tonight I thought we'd talk about a little bit of the counseling side of it. So Drone in TFR chat says, I wonder if there is a large straight edge group within the magic communities. In other words, they absolutely do not any kind of substances. And yes, there is. There are almost as many different types of witches as there are sands in the oceans. Seriously, there's quite a few. Some people do not feel the need to use substances of any kind, and others feel it helps to do substances. Honestly, when I say substances, I'm thinking things like the psychedelic mushrooms, marijuana, that kind of thing. And some people are big believers of using that type of those types of substances, the ayahuasca plant, because it can help break down the inner barriers of your mind to help you to do the spiritual traveling, the astral traveling. Now, some don't need it. They have the self-discipline to go through, and they've taught themselves, or they've been taught how to project themselves without the extra push of the psychedelics, and they're able to find that inner bit of themselves without that the crutch, if you will, of medications or substances of some sort. Now, an ayahuasca journey is an entirely different thing than, say, a magic mushroom, for instance. If you ever have a chance to listen to Chris and Chirigio, they talk about ayahuasca every so often, and what that is and what it means. And by golly, they know more about it than I do. It's on my to-do list. Hello, cat. So just so you know, an ayahuasca ceremony involves drinking the hallucinatory plant and vine tea blend. And it should be under the guidance of a respected shaman or guide. And you'll spend several hours in a deep connection to the higher intelligence, the collective unconsciousness, that kind of thing. And it'll help you understand your true self. An ayahuasca ceremony is often a full night, depending on who is making the blend. Yeah, it may be a 5-hour trip. It's not like a quick buzz and then you come down and mellow out. No, it's not a day trip. It's you're doing a journey, and there's some preparation to it, cleansing of self. Before you embark upon the journey, and you need to make sure you're in the right headspace before you do that kind of an adventure, really truly. And then when you do, you want to make sure that you do have that guidance, that someone who understands how the substance will interact with the human body, and also how to guide you into it and how to guide you out of it. Some people have a lot of euphoria and enlightenment. Some do have anxiety and panic. That's why you need a guide. And the guide will help monitor people for safety. Just because there is a lot to it, and some people will go through and do multiple sessions in a week, even night after night, and each ayahuasca ceremony is going to be different. There may be some duplicated images or imagery, if you will, or experience, but overall each experience will be unique. And yeah, it's often life altering when you do embark upon a journey. it's a big adventure. There are some other mental health things that ayahuasca can actually help with, but that's not what we're talking about. There will be a link in the show notes from Helpline talking about ayahuasca and the benefits. Yeah, 100%. If you have a chance to talk to Chris or Cherie or listen in on any other shows that discuss the benefits of the ayahuasca journey, you absolutely should, because it's good, and they are the pros. They know more about it than I do. So yes. But yeah, mushrooms are a little bit different. I actually don't go on an adventure when I have mushrooms. I just kind of relax, and some of the health issues I have relax. So microdosing with mushrooms is almost a medication type thing, honestly. There's a lot to it that is really good for you, and they're doing quite a few studies now on how beneficial for the brain microdosing is for those with mental health issues. So, just because a substance has been labeled as illegal or bad for you, often there is an agenda behind the making it illegal or not acceptable for people to use. And so don't just assume that because something has gotten that label of, "Ooh, it's illegal, it's bad for you," doesn't necessarily mean that it really is. Excuse me, just saying. Hey, Leo. Because a lot of times those things were made illegal because there was an agenda. For instance, marijuana was often associated with peyote and a lot of the first people substances here in the U.S. The peace pipes and all that. And there was quite the push to demonize and alienate the first tribes here in the U.S. To our detriment, honestly. And in doing so, they try to take away a lot of the tools of the traditional practices. And one of those was some of the hallucinogenic plants, such as marijuana. And also, during the 60s, when it was, very popular and hip and edgy to smoke a bit, the Christian conservatives felt that it was really, really bad, and so it was made illegal for two reasons there. Also, hemp in general is excellent. It's an excellent plant. Talk about a very renewable resource. The biomatter is good for a lot of different things, and so there were other industries that felt threatened by the hemp industry. So if we'd been producing hemp all along rather than leaning on other products, clothing, oils, like how alcohol, instead of using corn, use alcohol, that kind of thing. Or instead of corn, use hemp. But there's a lot of different benefits from the hemp. And so there was quite a few different plants out there that were made illegal just because they threatened other industry, like the lumber industry, or because lumber has been used again and again for paper products. They could have used hemp, honestly. And then also hemp oils are very burnable. So, they could have used, the oil industry was very, very anti that too. It's not on. You'll have to turn it on. The password is written down. So, yeah, Drone, unfortunately, there has been a lot of harm done to the first people in the U.S. by those who thought they were doing the right thing. And really, truly, that's not the case. And unfortunately, we lost a lot of our indigenous culture that we really have. So, anyways, Don's in the house. You just can't see him yet. Ooh. Hold on. Let me see. Is the camera on? The camera is on.
Hurry up.
Ooh. Oh, yes. That's a very slow computer. So, there. Dawn's the house.
Hi.
And, yeah, hemp used to be a really, really big deal. That's awesome. Justin says his TV evangelist mother is using a CBD oil and says it's from God. So we can communicate with him. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. And I saw this when I worked at the Crystal and Rock Shop. You know, people would come in and some would be all about, you may have to turn the right-hand monitor on. You're right. Anyways, some people would come in, they're like all about the energetic signature of the stones and the crystals and such. And others would come in and say, oh, this is all satanic. It's like, and who made the earth according to your religious practices? Okay, if your God made the earth, that means your God made this quartz. And it's not to beat you over the head with it, although I could bludgeon you with this crystal point, but you don't have one handy.
I was looking for the BS cutter.
Oh, it's behind you.
'Cause we
Yes.
could BS cutter.
Yes, Don could absolutely bless someone very hard with that.
I bless you!
Oh yeah, and Drone says there's the black market in Germany. There's a black market around the world for artifacts from many of the indigenous cultures, not just the Native Americans, unfortunately. Leave my flask alone. And then Sonia mentioned, the huge awakening to the First Nation children. Yeah, unfortunately. Does it? I'm lost. You're on the air too. What are you imbibing? Is there something in there?
Can't hear anything.
No.
Right. Nope.
Don hears the roar of the ocean at the bottom of the flask.
Oh, it's just the blood pulsing through my brain. Anyhow.
Anyways, and a lot of the artifacts and stuff, I know I have some things that are reproductions, and to me they have some intrinsic value. I have an Eskimo woman on a shelf, and she's carrying a baby or a child.
A baby.
And she has some other things to her, and to me that is very symbolic of motherhood, honestly. So yes, it has meaning to me, not just cool looking, because it is cool looking. I have some other things that are kind of cool looking, but then I've also made some things that are cool looking. So anyways, yes, all over the place. So actually this leads us really well into where I wanted to talk about tonight.
To be your best self?
That was last night.
Well, then why does it be a better you?
It'd be a better you was last night. I don't know why, it just popped up. It says tonight it's Saturday night. Channeling my inner Saturday Night Live without all the funny. So yeah, exactly, Drone. So in talking about how to be a better you, one of the things that I was talking about last night was the holistic parts, and one of those was therapy, counseling, the mental health care, because often we get all sorts of different things or baggage that we carry. Sometimes it is the burdens from our family, sometimes it's burdens from society, sometimes it's burdens from coworkers, sometimes it's burdens that we have just created for ourselves, because nobody can dig a hole for your okay, you can't dig a hole. I can dig a hole faster for myself to bury myself than anybody else could. Or the things that people say negatively to me are probably things I've already said to myself. And that's, for the most part, true for everybody. Yeah, I know the BS cutter, right? So when we're trying to be the better you, or be more in control of self and understanding of self, and maybe we are working on our shadow work. There are other things that we do need to talk to or talk through, and I generally recommend a mental health professional in some way, shape, or form, and someone with a little bit of training, honestly. Because not everybody can help with mental health issues. And if you have a friend or someone that you can talk to, or talk to often, you need to remember that the listening ear can also gossip. And the benefit of going to someone who is a licensed mental health practitioner or a spiritual guide of some sort is because there are oaths and there are rules in place to prevent them from spreading, gossip about the things that you're working through. And that's not okay to spread those things. It's okay to have the rules. It's really good to have the rules because you want to protect yourself. It's like, hey, I'm dealing with this trauma that I don't want everybody to know. And so having someone who understands the rules and restrictions here in the U.S., we have the HIPAA, the Health Information and Privacy Act. I don't know what the other A is. Something like that. But basically, people who are doing counseling for you cannot share that information. So there are more than one kind of counselor. It's not just that you're, Freud sitting on a chair where you're reclining on a couch and taking a nap while you're talking through your things or that sort of stuff. So it's the different types of counselors are out there. There's like debt counseling, which is a big deal for those of us that have financial stress, or decided to go to college and rack up a bunch of student loans and then have to pay them back, which is an adventure. But debt counseling is real. And one thing I noticed when I went to college is as you're walking into the buildings on the very first day of school, there are tables lined up in front of most of the buildings, especially the like where the lunch area is or the student union buildings, that kind of thing. Tables that they've got some representative there for credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, that kind of thing. And hey, if you fill out this application, you can have a free t-shirt or a water bottle, or it's, the free gear. Ooh, speaking of which, there was a package in the mailbox and I forgot to tell you. You should probably pick it up.
Is it in the mailbox?
It's in the mailbox.
The P.O. box?
No, this one here.
Okay, anyhow.
Anyways.
Roll on.
Well, I just remembered I had to tell you. Otherwise it'd be like, squirrel, gone. Anyways, exactly. Don's got to poke out his eye with his BS cutter. We should watch. And put it on YouTube. So yeah, debt counseling's real, and it causes other things like anxiety, stress, depression, marital problems. I do believe personally that credit cards are the number 1 cause of divorce in the U.S. right now.
Right next to checks.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, probably. So, debt counseling, often it's hard to find someone who can do debt counseling. I have tried to go to a local large company franchise for investment advice and was told that if I didn't have 6 figures, they didn't have time for me. And that was, that made me angry. So I needed counseling for that. Because yes. Also, another type of counseling is child development counseling. So, development of child. And that could be therapeutic services for kids that just aren't fitting in, or maybe they have anger issues or abandonment issues. There's all sorts of things that children have to deal with these days. Eating disorder therapy. It's a pretty big deal, too. And it's not just women who have eating disorders. Men can have them, too. There's comfort eating, there's refusing to eat, etc., etc. Sometimes all of that is because it's the only thing they have control of. So, kids often, not so much this year, but in years past, their schedules are full. They've got track, and they've got baseball, and they've got cheerleading and football.
You shouldn't stress your children out like that.
Yeah, their calendar is so full that they're up doing homework until 11 o'clock at night, and then I got to get up at 5 so I can go to band camp or whatever. When kids have such full schedules, they have a hard time, feeling like they're in control because they're always doing something, always going somewhere. And often it does lead to an eating disorder. Grief counseling is a big deal and one that I am a huge proponent of. Grief is something that I think here in the U.S. we minimize. We don't really allow people to truly grieve. It's like, yes, that happens, so suck it up and move on. Whether it's loss of a pet, loss of a family member, loss of a friend, loss of a job, loss of a career. There's many different kinds of losses that can cause grief. And, you need to remember to allow yourself to grieve when things happen that you can't control. So I'm going to stop there because it is almost bottom of the hour. Can you believe it? It was just that quick. So, loss of race, yeah. So, anyways, yes, break time. We'll be right back. Hello, my lovelies. It helps if I turn the microphones all on.
Well, that was short.
Yeah. It goes quick. Ah, goodness. Whoa.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh,
I
no.
just, crazy.
Okay, whatever you say.
And then goes to the machine. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi. Yes. Hi.
It's freaking hot in here.
Maybe you're overdressed. I don't know. It's the beard.
Yeah, it's the beard.
So Pride is like, you know what Pride is? Pride
Yeah,
Week.
well, I didn't realize that we had a pride thing here.
I think this was the first official Pride parade that we had in the area.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Let's see. So, we're talking about mental health this evening a little bit. And,
Yes, Don has none of it.
it's okay. I understand.
Okay. Great. I'm crazy and I'm accepted.
It's okay. Kimber loves you.
Apparently not. She's not even here anymore.
It's because she felt the call of a pillow.
More like the couch.
Yeah. Probably that too. So, mental health. When it comes to mental health,
It drives you mad?
you're probably already mad there. Actually, all the best people are mad. Didn't you know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdo.
I know. Mental no health. Yes. When it comes to mental health and counseling and all that, you don't have to go to the first counselor you come across, and you don't have to stick with the first counselor that you come across. You can actually fire your therapist.
You can fire your doctor.
Yeah, we talked about that last night.
Good.
You can fire your doctor. And yeah, if you're seeking help, care for mental health, and the person you're going to just doesn't seem to take you seriously or isn't really helping, you can fire your mental health provider. Here, shoot, it's been 20 years.
Oh, hush, Lucky.
Yeah, 20 years-ish. I tried to go to a counselor, and when you think of psychologist, what's the mental image that you get? What physical characteristics would a psychologist have if you were... Okay, so Don is shrugging his head. So, even though I know better, for me, a psychologist once upon a time was someone, generally a man, kind of a slight physical body, probably shorter, kind of an oversized head, out of proportion to the rest of him. Drone says constipated look. Yeah. That is exactly what my first psychologist looked like. Mini-me could have bench pressed him. I mean, it's just this slight little person. And he was probably 5'4", but a foot of that was like head space. It was just, his melon was oversized.
Did it have its own gravitational field?
Yes, a receding hairline with the big fluffy perm, and it was just, seriously, he was a caricature of himself. And every time I had a session with him, when I got done, I would feel worse, and I couldn't take him seriously. I just could not take him seriously because he looked like a cartoon character. And so, needless to say, my initial counseling session did not work at all, period. No. And I didn't try again for a number of years. Now, my younger boy got to do some counseling, and our younger boy got to do some counseling because, kids have issues. And so I got to encounter, counselors that actually looked like real people instead of cartoon characters. And it changed my viewpoint just a little bit. But always I've felt that mental health is an integral part of physical health. Because if you don't feel good in your brain, if your mental well-being is poor, often that leads to poor habits, like eating improperly, not exercising, or over-exercising. OCD tendencies, which could be like cleaning excessively, or if you ever watched the TV show Monk, that would be a significant issue. Touching things, yep. Or always having a handkerchief to open the door, that kind of thing. And, there's... I just totally lost my train of thought. That need to go out and have that mental health care is really huge. Now, for those of you who are in the mental health field, I get it. Some of you need your own providers, and you need to have someone who you can talk to. And I think that's important as well, because sometimes the caregiver needs care as well. And it's frustrating when that part of you is not as acknowledged. For instance, I'm a overset kind of gal, a little fluffy, and I've got some physical health issues structurally. I've got some advanced arthritis and some other things going on, and often when you walk into the doctor's office, they judge you based upon your look. And it's like, hey, I'm in pain. They're like, well, I'll lose some weight. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great if I was able to walk further than from the bed to the bathroom some days. And, a lot easier to lose weight if you can be physically active without hurting quite so much. And sometimes you really do have to be blunt to your medical professionals when they say stuff like that. It's like, no, you don't understand. I can't. I need help getting to that point. So make sure you are communicating with your medical professionals. And if they are not listening to you, or if they don't take you seriously when you say you are dealing with this or that, fire them and get someone else. Period. You don't have to, generally speaking, stick with the same provider. Now, here in Idaho, because of the Obamacare, generally speaking, the way our Idaho Constitution is written or amended or whatever, if you are on insurance or Medicaid, if you select a primary care doctor, that is your primary care doctor for the year. You're not supposed to be able to change it throughout the year.
That doesn't mean you can't go get a second opinion.
Right, second opinions are different. Now, if you are going to a primary care doctor and it feels like they're just not meeting your needs, they're not acknowledging your issues, here in Idaho, you can find a different primary care provider and you can explain why you need to switch. And generally speaking, if you tell the providers, like, my medical needs were not being met appropriately, they will listen. Now, if you do it 5 times in the course of a year, they might not. But if you go get a second opinion, sometimes that's even go into urgent care to get a second opinion, you can weed out the doctors that are not going to listen to you, not give the proper weight to the issues that you're trying to bring attention to. So yeah, if you have a mental health disorder and maybe you do need medication to help you, okay, they're going to help you with the medication. However, if you say, well, I don't want medication, they'll talk to you on how to deal with your mental health issues without going on the medication. There'll be some different techniques that you may have to learn. And no matter what, you do have to be honest. So if you use things like marijuana, for instance, and you go to your mental health provider and be like, hey, I'm depressed all the time, and you don't tell them that you are using marijuana, and they prescribe you something, it may not interact well with your marijuana. So you do have to have that open communication and that trust level. So, and Julia, really, I'm surprised that your insurance won't cover therapy. Even $20 an hour is not so bad. Their regular prices are similar to an attorney. So if you were just to pay out of pocket, it'd be $200 or $300 an hour. So yeah, talk to me about that later, because yeah, here in the U.S., a lot of employers are starting to offer a mental health care package outside of their regular health insurance. So that means that they have a list of approved therapists that you can go to. Sometimes it's a phone call, sometimes it's in person, and you can work through some things. It's whether it's grief or depression, anxiety, even sleep disorders are often caused by mental health issues. Because if you're dealing with anxiety and you're trying to go to sleep at night, and during the day you stay busy, you're doing the things, you're cleaning the house, doing the chores, working, interacting with the family, and then the moment you lay down to go to sleep, all that activity stops, and your brain says, guess what we're going to do now? We're going to dwell about everything that you've said in the history of ever. So you remember, little Sally Joe that you sat next to in first grade? Do you remember how you never said hello to her in the mornings? How do you think it made her feel? And it's, it's frustrating because it's like, for crying out loud, I'm 50. Why am I worried about Sally Joe and 50? I'm not me, 50, but I'm projecting here. So, it's often the things that we can convince our brain to not deal with throughout the day. At night, as soon as we try to rest, our brain kicks in. It's like, now we're going to think about everything. The square root of pi is blueberry, and for me, my brain just starts going off in weird places anyways. So, when you have that anxiety or you need those things resolved or to talk through them, find someone who can help you. And generally speaking, I don't recommend spiritual counselors because often faith-based counseling includes a faith-based element that
read as dogma.
Yeah, that is not necessarily in line with your own beliefs or helpful or conducive to your healing. For instance, say you are part of the LGBTQ community and you've been interested in a same-sex relationship, but you've never felt like stepping out and dating someone like that, and you're feeling very conflicted with it, and you decide to go to a spiritual counselor or therapist instead of a medical one, and they say, well, you shouldn't have relationships with that kind of romantic relationships with same-sex partners because it's a sin against God or whatever. That's not helping you work through the issue. It's actually making the issue worse. It's not helping you work through who you are and how to accept who you are and be the best you that you can be. Instead, it makes you feel worse. So, when it comes to faith-based mental health, not all providers are created equal. Straight up. Because a lot of them aren't. And they're so entrenched in their own dogma, like Dawn said, that they can't see any other way out of it. And as a result, they don't help. They hinder, and they make the issue worse rather than better. Maybe it's an abusive situation with a significant other, and they're like, well, turn the other cheek. And you're like, but he broke my arm. Am I supposed to give him the other arm to break? Or she pushed me down a flight of stairs. What am I supposed to do with that? You really do need to make sure that you are getting the correct level of care. And a lot of times the faith-based healers are not able to. So, Lucky in the chat room says life coach would be a better idea. Make them sign an NDA so you can talk it out. And for those that are dealing with life socially, it's her opinion. You know what? In a way, a life coach is the right choice, because a life coach should not, well, they can be faith-based also, but they can help address other things, not just your mental health. Sometimes they can help with career coaching, life choice coaching, dealing with like roommates or coworkers, and not just focused on, well, I'm depressed. Sometimes they have other tools that they can help with, like how to fill out an application to get your own apartment, or what does it really mean to get a credit card, or resources for declaring bankruptcy, or or how to shop for groceries, or for so many kids these days, how to cook without using the microwave. Life coach, teaching people how to just live. And yeah, signing an NDA is really, really important. For those of you who don't know what an NDA is, it's a non-disclosure agreement. Basically saying, hey, you know what? I don't have permission to talk about this. Sorry. Lucky says, like, how to deal with normies. Yeah, sometimes dealing with the normal people is quite hard. Just saying. I prefer the crazy people.
Excuse me, that's neural normal. Gosh.
The neurotypical. I am quite happy being a neural atypical. Honestly. I'm much happier here. So, anyways, remember, you don't have to stick with your mental health professional if they're not helping. Just like you don't have to stick with your medical health professional if they're not working. And say you've been referred out for a specific type of care, so maybe you have to go to physical therapy, and you go to physical therapy and it's like, dude, you're a drill sergeant and I can't do a 5-mile hike. I have a broken leg. And he's like, well, yes, you can. You don't have to keep going back to him. You can get a referral to somewhere else. Just saying. Or there's so many different things out there. If you do need help, please reach out to someone. Don't just put it on a shelf and assume that, I can think myself out of being depressed, or I can think myself out of being, stressed about something, or, yeah, I know I've got some anxiety, but I'll be okay. It doesn't keep me up every night, just most of them. And that's not okay. And this mental health care, guys and gals, it falls under self-care. This is care of self. If you are not taking proper care of yourself, it is really, really hard for you to take proper care of someone else. You cannot pour water from an empty cup. At all. Lucky says, no, I'm serious. When I saw a normal family at a reunion, I was calling my siblings and saying, dude, did you know that normal families put aside differences at funerals? Yeah, or weddings. And Drone says, tis only a flesh wound.
Tis only a flesh wound. Come back here, I'll bite your kneecaps off.
Exactly. I know, like, in my family, when my grandmother passed, my cousin, who's a Lutheran pastor, and did the sermon. And it was really, really interesting for the most part. It was a very typical Lutheran sermon. But also, it was a lot saying, well, she's a judgmental bitch, but, she's dead now. It's just, I don't know, grandma was grandma. You kind of had to accept her as she was. When she hit a certain age, you really can't convince people that they might need to be different. So, anyways, yeah, normal people do put aside differences in case of emergencies. Some of us just keep arguing because we're not normal. Just like, did you know that if you insist on doing everything yourself and not relying on other people, that's a trauma response? Maybe you've been abandoned in your past, or you've been or had problems relying on other people because they never came through for you in the past, and so you feel like, nope, I have to control it all. That control freak tendency, that is 100% a trauma response. Not just a type A personality, but trauma response. Type A is a little different. They are control freaks too. Just like people who deal with depression, or maybe they had too much on their shoulders growing up, tend to avoid responsibility. They either go, they claim all the responsibility, or they avoid it like it's the plague and they're going to have, monkeypox afterwards. Sorry, monkeypox is a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's in Texas right now. It's from Nigeria. Oh yeah. Lucky says that was her. A dude at work was a sexual harasser, and she called him out on it. Next day, he died of a heart attack. People looked at her and expected her to make nice about the dead, and she goes, "Nope, I call him a dead SOB." Well, you know what? Sometimes being honest about it is all you can do, and that is as normal as you can be. So, yeah. And remember, your normal is not the same normal for everybody else. And actually, normal is just an average of the abnormal. So the more abnormals you spend time around, the more abnormal you are, but yet the more accepted your abnormal is because it's the new normal. That's not confusing. I don't know what is. Because normal is technically just a setting on the dryer. So, mental health. You got to have good, firm mental health. Take care of yourself. If you're overwhelmed, if you are feeling isolated, if you have grief, if you have anxiety, OCD, there's so many different things out there. There are numbers you can call. And you should do them. You should call them. Here in the U.S., if you're dealing with a lot of stuff, you can call. What is this? It's the government's here to help, guys. It's SAMHSA. So it's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. They have a helpline. So in the U.S., it's 1-800-662-HELP or 1-800-662-4357. And you know what? It's important to make sure that you take care of your mental health. And that's a free 24-hour day, 365 day a year service. English and Spanish both. And I think you can text it also. It may just be a phone call. But anyways, if you call it, they'll help you. The number will be in the show notes because you should know it. Let's see. I'm going to put this all in there. Sorry, talking to myself as I do the thing. Ask Don, I do it often. Actually, you should ask Mini-Me. I talk to myself all the time. Except for when I talk to the cat. Or cats. The other things to think about when we're looking at, holistic care. We've talked about mental health is a big deal. Last night we talked about the herbal health, which is good. Hold on. Let's see. Holistic. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about some of the other types of things that you should do to help make sure that you are taking care of all of you. And talking about it mostly because I want to make sure y'all are just in the best place that you can be. And yes, friends can help with mental health, but sometimes our friends are dealing with so much crap themselves that you need to make sure you are, give them time to talk about their stuff too. So, but then that's the benefit of having friends. You guys are there for one another. Because, yeah, And yes, add some mugwort or tea. A little chamomile goes a long way, or mint, seriously. Where'd my thing go? I love it when I lose my...
Mind.
Yeah, that too. There it is. Emotional and often spiritual health when it comes to, not spiritual health, social, emotional and social health are often very, very associated with mental health. So those two aspects of the holistic plan, yeah, make sure you're checking in. Whether you can send me an email, it's wildepaisley@gmail.com. You can call into the show if you need a vent. I see it come up in the chat rooms periodically. I do get emails from people who need help, and I have no problems helping them. And if I cannot, I know enough people now that I can help them too. So it's just about the next break, and when we come back, we'll do some singing bowl, and then we will talk about some other stuff. Because yes, you need singing bowl. We'll be right back. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between.
I think that's the bumper from TFR.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently the bumper bleed through is a real thing. I will have to work with Dawn on that one. So.
That's interesting. It did it the other time too when we came back. It did it 2 times. Oh, do you have a YouTube open?
No. That was bumper music. That was bumper music, I think. So no, Leo, that's not the bull. I think we're on. Are we on? Are we on? So we're going to do singing bowl until further notice. How's that? Very cool. Singing bowl. Love the singing bowl. Poor Don. He's sitting on a laptop right now that sounds like it's about to fly away. The jet engines are ringing up.
Haven't even noticed.
Really? How do you not hear that? Oh, wow, Sonia. I have to show you this picture later. Okay, so talking about all body health, the holistic health, being a better you, that kind of thing. Very, very important. Last night we talked about herbal health and how quite a few of the things that we call weeds are really rather medicinal. Mugwort is one of them. Lucky sent me some information on mugwort. Mugwort, it kind of grows on the side of the road a lot in a lot of different places. But it, one of those hardy ones. So traditionally, mugwort helps with bleeding issues. And supposedly mugwort was so the Anglo-Saxon tribes believe that mugwort was one of the 9 sacred herbs given to the world by the god Woden. Mugwort is a popular ingredient in Groot, which is flavoring for beer before hops became so popular. Romans planted mugwort by roadsides where it would be available to passersby to put in their shoes because it would relieve aching feet. In Japan, they used to burn mugwort to exorcise spirits of disease, who supposedly detest the aroma. All right, so Leo says, read the definition of weed. Define weed. So, a weed. Oh, yes. A definition of weed is a wild plant growing where it is not wanted and in competition with cultivated plants. Sounds like a pagan. Honestly. It is also a contemptibly feeble person and also a leggy, loosely built horse.
Okay.
Wow. I did not know that one. I had never heard the word weed applied to a horse before. Except for they don't eat weeds. That's why you need goats. So, the next on our healthcare journey here, I think we should talk about spiritual health. Because that's a real thing. Now, as a pagan, I am different from many. I follow Hecate and Canunos, and I'm quite happy there. Others follow other deities. I am a pantheist, meaning I believe in all the gods. I just don't work with most of them. Spiritual health is the aspect of our well-being which organizes the values, the relationships, and the meaning and purpose of our lives. And why is it important? Well, spiritual wellness generally acknowledges our search for deeper meaning in life. When we're spiritually healthy, we feel more connected to not only a higher power, but to those around us. We have more clarity when it comes to making everyday choices, and our actions become more consistent with our beliefs and values. I'd say that's a pretty big deal. The funny thing is, you can't look up spiritual health and just get something about paganism. It's all very Christian. Let's see what I can find for different. Jeez, oh, Pete! Wow. Apparently, our virus didn't like that website, but yeah, it popped up. Said no, not that one. Huh? Goodness, I'm awake. Are you awake? Goodness. I don't know if y'all saw us, but we jumped. That was loud. Goodness. So. Yeah, sorry guys, that was loud. Wow. When I say spiritual health, I do not mean religious health, because that's different. Religious health means religion. Spiritual health is our connection to the divine. Spiritual health does not generally have dogma. And there are quite a few studies and articles out there that talk about how religiosity,
multiplicity,
yeah, something like that, often Leo says we need to sage the computer.
No, so you better sage that website.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of studies out there that say strict religious structure generally negatively impacts mental health. So spiritual health is very much related to mental health, because when you're being spiritual, it's your whole life. Spiritual health is holistic. You have a stronger connection to the divine. You have a greater awareness of self and how self interacts with those around us, the world around us. Often, spiritually healthy people have a greater respect for the world around them and the people around them. And they're not just like, well, I'm better than you because I believe in this. And that's something that I see every so often in a lot of the social media threads that I follow and participate in, is that those who feel that they are religiously superior, they don't seem very happy. There's a lot of negativity in their posts. And Justin says spiritual healing is an awesome death album.
It is.
Okay. So, generally speaking, a lot of spiritual health is more esoteric than structured. Like, for instance, with Christianity. And I use that as an example often, mostly because it's what I'm most familiar with, because that's how I grew up. You go to church, you often sit in a very similar pew every time, with the similar people every time. There's a structure to the service, and you know what's going to happen. There's not a lot of surprise. You're probably going to fall asleep during the sermon, or wish you were, that kind of thing. And so there's a certain comfort in that structure. But for those who are more spiritual rather than religious, because religious often goes to a structured environment, spirituality is often more esoteric. So what I mean by that is you don't feel compelled necessarily that you have to go to church, or you're going to go to hell if you don't go to church. For me, that means there's a stronger connection to the spiritual just by walking out my front door than I ever found walking into any building. Now, I've been in some pretty magnificent churches because I love architecture, and that's something church builders have gotten right, is how to build fantastic buildings. But I don't feel compelled to go there all the time, honestly. And that spirituality, that connection with the divine, whatever it is, often really influences our definition of right and wrong. Leo says they were always the late ones just trying to find a seat. Yeah, I understand. And for quite a few people in the world, science has replaced the divine in our society today, which, that's their choice. That's something that they've done. And in a way, politically acceptable.
What?
Things that are just acceptable to be PC.
PC. Oh.
Yeah. Things that are PC, or that PC adherence, if you will. Politically correct, that's what it is. That's almost the religion of today's society. And it frustrates me when I look at the news here in the U.S. and I see the cancel culture taking control, because they're viewing history through today's lens and judging it and finding it guilty without understanding what that history was. For instance, they removed a statue of Robert E. Lee in one of the East Coast states, which to me is really unfortunate because Robert E. Lee was a very interesting individual, a very smart man, and he just happened to live on the wrong side of the line, basically, and identified with the cause of the South more than the cause of the North. That's about it. And so it's frustrating when I see our society breaking down the history and demonizing those that live there. Well, you know what? It was normal then. In 100 years, people are going to look back at today's actions and they'll judge us through the lens of the future. And odds are pretty good we're going to be found wanting. Hopefully they will not make the same mistakes that we're making now, though. So, yeah. Often when it comes to spirituality, we have people, I should say, not just we, but people in general that are more spiritual can see it in everyday life. They encounter it in just going about their lives and experiencing it. Sometimes it's an interaction at the grocery store. Sometimes it's going on a hike. Sometimes, it's a combination of both. Sometimes it's just a chance meeting of a stranger that needed to hear a kind word. The benefits of a smile often are really, really huge. And, it's important that we remember that spirituality is different or separate from religion. Religion is the dogma, the structure, the baggage, if you will, that comes with religion. And that, for me, as a witch, that's part of the reason why I am not Wiccan, because there is so much religion and dogma associated with Wicca. That doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, for those who follow Wicca and their beliefs and their structure, it works really great. Just like for those who follow Christianity and the structures within Christianity, and it works for them, that's great. You need to find what is best for you. Now, for some, that means you're going to be a Christian. For some, that means you're going to be Muslim. For some, it's going to be your Wicca. For some, you're just going to be a pagan. Or maybe you're a combination of all the above. You might have a headache, though. But basically, your spiritual path is yours. Drone says, hasn't politics replaced science now, Tim? Yeah, politics is horrible.
Well, government grants fund science, so 1
Yeah.
+ 1 = 2.
Right. It's not pi. So, we need to remember that being part of the divine and being aware of the divine and being aware of the spiritual aspect of the divine is a relationship. And just like we each have different relationships with others and each other, our relationship with the divine is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's. And that's okay. We're not clones. We don't have to do things exactly the way everybody else does. Just be yourself. Learn and accept yourself for who you are. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of the things. Just be the best you that you can be. Doggone it, because I said. And, if you see things on social media and you want to be the keyboard warrior and stamp out the confusion out there, which I got to tell you is really easy to do sometimes, you're going to see posts that could be considered a trigger. And I got to tell you, the posts that I see that say, "Ooh, trigger warning," just seeing the phrase "trigger warning" for me is a trigger warning. That triggered me just by saying trigger warning. Because, if you feel you have to excuse yourself by saying, "Oh, trigger warning," should you really be saying it, A? Or are people really going to be so judgmental? I saw a post today about someone in a different country who is part of the search and rescue crew trying to find a child that had wandered off that was also autistic, a 4-year-old. And they were just asking for, a little bit of energy, a little bit of guidance. It was a witchy post. And they weren't saying, "Oh, this," or "Oh, that," or demonizing anybody. But the first of the post was just like, "Hey, I need some help and some strength with this." And as a community, I would like to think pagans would all come together and say, "Hey, we're going to help you and help to find this kid." Instead, I saw, I think in the course of like 15 minutes, there was almost 200 posts or comments on the post. And a solid third of them were negative about, child is better off not being around because they have a mental health issue like autism, which is a behavioral health, not a mental health. And it was disgusting that as a community that's already being ostracized, or has already been ostracized, I should say, by society, as pagans, we should come together and be supportive of one another, for crying out loud. Just like, we should be supportive of everybody else. If someone's asking for help, who are we to judge the person that's asking for help? Do you know how much strength it requires to ask for help? As someone who doesn't ask for help very often, it takes a lot. It does. It's hard to ask for help. And stop judging people when they ask for it. And we had to cancel the post because there was so much negativity involved, and it was, instead of adding energy or trying to be helpful to the individual who posted it, it was actually taking energy away, and was a brain suck for everybody who saw it. So the post had to come down, which is really unfortunate because when it comes to helping people, if someone asks for help, by golly, just give the help. Don't add caveats and strings and oh, you're doing it wrong. Sometimes just all they need is the help. They're not asking you for your 2 cents. They're just asking you to lend a hand. And for the folks that do the search and rescue, there's a special crowd because not only do you have to be out and about in different seasons and temperatures and terrains and all the things, often what you do find is not very good. It is often really, really bad. So, if someone asks for help, just give it. Don't judge people for it.
Well, and if you can't give it, just piss off.
Yeah, there's that too.
Shut the hell up and just piss off.
Yes. Yeah, if you don't... There's the thing that I grew up with is if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. When did that start becoming a superpower?
Everybody's allowed to have their opinion. And everybody's allowed to voice it. Instead of just pissing off.
So Leo says, well, as a group, we can now send that good energy. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, when it comes to, that spiritual health and putting out that energy or coming across someone who needs that energy, sometimes the spiritual health in helping someone is just a hug. It's a smile. It's a handshake. It's a listening ear. Leo agrees with you 100%.
Yeah, I see that. Yes.
So, sometimes we need to help people in the way they need to be helped, rather instead of doing it the way we think they need to be helped. So if someone's saying, hey, I need help moving, for instance, that doesn't mean they need you to go find them boxes.
They need you to show up and move the boxes.
Yes. Now, if you bring a few extra, generally, there's always a need for another box when you're moving. I hate moving.
Especially if you have cats.
Or if you have cats?
Yeah.
Or kids?
Cats.
Oh. Cats are easy. You just put them in a box.
They self-box.
Yes, they do self-box. Yes, cats self-box.
Jump in, dummy. Okay.
Drama, by the way, cannot ignore a box. She has to at least touch it. If you put a little catnip in the bottom of it, that's especially if it's a small box. She's kind of a big cat. And if you put it in a little bitty box, that's kind of funny. But yeah, the listening ear, the hug, like he says, hugs are priceless, literally and figuratively. Yeah. Sometimes the smile that you give someone is the only smile they receive during the day. We need to remember that. Or that acceptance that you give someone is the only time that they feel accepted during the day. And I really have to tell you, the gift of acceptance is probably one of the biggest gifts that you can give to someone. Because if you can accept someone just as they are, and all their warts and wrinkles and stuff, that's a pretty big deal. Is how many people do you know that have gotten into a relationship thinking that they were going to fix someone and then get upset when that relationship ends because they couldn't fix the person? Now, you're not there to fix them. You're there to accept them. And if you can't accept them, you shouldn't be in the relationship.
Piss off.
We're going to have to rename Don's BS cutter to the piss off stick.
Don's pissed off stick.
Leo says he still waves at people as I drive. Yeah, I do. I did something I grew up doing in the Midwest. Kind of common. Sometimes it was a tractor, sometimes it wasn't. Basically, you're waving, saying hi. Something we did in the Midwest. I don't know. Does anybody else do this? Do you pull over and turn your headlights on if you see a funeral procession going down the road. I was taught that was a sign of respect for the dead, and I still do it, even though I don't see very many funeral processions these days. But Leo says no, not just the one finger wave, the high wave. Yeah, I've done both. Kind of depends on where we're at. Drone says nope, he doesn't pull over. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just an Iowa thing. Iowans are odd. I know this. I've been one. So, we're about at the bottom of the hour, and when we come back, we're going to find something lighter to talk about because it's been kind of a heavy show tonight. So, if you have called in and I haven't noticed, I'm sorry. But yes, I will. I'll find something a little more cheerful, a little lighter, for the last half hour of the night. So, thank you all for hanging in, and we will be back in a bit. Hello. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. The last half hour of the night. It's been kind of a serious weekend, so I'm trying to find something funny. Oh, most of my pagan news feeds are not as funny. Hi. Pagan news. Latest news. Trying to find. Oh, this is kind of funny. I don't know. What is this? I may have to come back to that one another time because it was interesting. It says pagan politics are not as liberal as you think. That is a true statement, by the way. I personally am a very conservative pagan. Oh, here we go. This is an article from The Independent. It's a UK publication. It says, what pop culture gets wrong about witchcraft according to Wicca. Where's the article? I have to register for your wide. I don't want to register. Okay. Hold on. I gotta type in the thing. Oh, drat. Lucky made me do different things, and it didn't help. So hello, guys. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between, where I forget the stuff sometimes because that is who I am. Let's see. I'm typing in things, trying to remember what I'm doing here. Yeah, sure. Why not? Cool. I want to register, I guess, so I can read the article because it was funny-ish. Year of my birth, huh? You know, I get it. So a lot of these online magazines and stuff, they want all this information because they want to keep their subscribership up, and I get it. And I get it. I do. I really, really do. Yeah, all that's there. Oh, this one. I didn't fill in all the blanks. And now what? That's there. Yeah. I just wanted to read the article. Why can't I read the article? Okay, yes. Blah. It was a really funny article. Sad day. Where did it go? I lost it completely. Oh. Ooh, are they going to let me? Yes. Oh, my stars. All right, so. Yes. All right, so it's an article from The Independent. It is, article is what pop culture gets wrong about witchcraft according to Wicca. There's a lot of things regarding witchcraft that are very, very popular these days, 100%. And a lot of this person, they talk about all sorts of different things. So, and how, okay. Actually, I'm going to put the link for the article in the show notes because you might like the article. It's pretty interesting. Oh, I lost it. Yeah, I've lost it. So, the author of the article says, how long have you been practicing witchcraft? And the respondent says, I've been involved in paganism and witchcraft since my teens. She's an initiate and high priest of Wicca, of the Gardnerian Wicca. So that means she is celebrates the seasonal cycles of the sun, the moon, the earth with reverence for the divine as it manifests in nature, personified as the great goddess of the moon and her consort, a horned god of the sun. Okay. And how does witch change your daily life? It says, daily life, well, taking responsibility for oneself, one's life, and one's quest for happiness, truth, and wisdom. You know, I actually like that. So, can anybody become a witch? Yes. Pretty much, yeah. So, common misconceptions about witchcraft. So, yeah. There, let's see. Most common misconception, because they are changing all the time, because, you know, the popular viewpoint of what witches are and what they do are closer to real than they used to be, because they used to be, oh, it's a Satan thing, but it's not. So, the rise of witchy fashions, like pentagrams and crystals, are everywhere at the moment. Is it good or not? And so the respondent says it's part of our culture to exploit trends. So in the last several years, we've seen explosions of interest through popular media and culture, like Harry Potter phenomena, which always brings a wave of new interest to the genuine practice of the craft. When the interest subsides, because they've grown out of Harry Potter, for instance, some people stick with it, though. And the craft calls its own initiates. And often, for those of us that do find our way to paganism and witchcraft or Wicca, it's like we're coming home. It's a place where we are now being accepted. And like putting on a comfy pair of slippers, or your favorite sweats, or something like that, your bathrobe, the cozy clothes. What is the most important thing people should know about witchcraft? Really, this is it. It's modern. That it's a modern religious interpretation of beliefs and practices that are as old as human civilization. Well, gee whiz willikers. That's it. That's it. Really? Well, balderdash. That was nothing. That was it. There's nothing. I'll be darned. There's really... I'm just sad because that was it. I read the basics of the entire article just like that. There was nothing. So what does society get wrong about paganism? See, Leo found it through learning about true healing, and glad he did. Yeah, absolutely. For those that are trying to find a path of acceptance, I think a lot of us end up with paganism or witchcraft because it's like we're being accepted, if you will, and being allowed to just be ourselves is often unheard of, if you will, because sorry, there is so much that we are told is not okay about ourselves, the way we dress, the way we think, the way we believe, what we do. That when we get to paganism and we find out that it's just okay to be ourselves, it is like coming home. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's peaceful, if nothing else. So oh yeah. I was going to read an article from Focus on the Family, but I just couldn't get past the whole Jesus is the real source of girl power. Yeah, I just feel like I need to write more. That's just all there is to it. Because pagans are very diverse, I guess, in general. Yeah, very, very much so. I asked, I was trying to find something more amusing here. Sorry, guys. I asked Sonia about if she's part of TikTok. And here's an article from Under the Ancient Oaks. It talks about TikTok. Let's see. And no, one hit wonders. Okay. That might be an article for later. I'm sorry. Oh, that's funny. What's this? Article Salt City Pagan. Cowessess First Nation. Oh, Saskatchewan. Oh, yes. Yeah, nope, we're not going into that deep, dark. Leo says, yes, you do. I still need to get the book. So, speaking of, maybe that's what I should talk about right at the moment. For those of you who are listening in and such, so Courtney Weber, just real quick, has released her most recent book talking about Hecate. Let's see, the book name. I'll put the link in the show notes. Hecate, Goddess of Witches. So here's the link. Courtney Weber is a friend of mine, and she's a fantastic author, and I'm waiting for my book. I can't wait. Yeah, you're pre-ordering basically right now, but she talks about Hecate. So yes, important. I'm a big believer in Hecate, by the way. Hey Maggie, no worries. As I add more content to the website and look at exploring the channel more, so maybe this is something if y'all could email me your 10 cents, 3 cents, pocket lint, whatever you got. If you have ideas or things that you would like me to talk about more of, for instance, I've thought about talking or picking an herb and going over it like flashcard style, if you will, and having it available on the website. So like the element components, is it a fire sign, that kind of thing. The medicinal, the associations for the different plants or crystals. Do you guys want to hear more spell work? Because I haven't really talked much about spell work. Because in reality, to me, by the way, spells are very similar to prayers. So if you were to interpret paganism, or my belief of paganism, to a Christian, it'd be very similar. Spells are prayers. Just often there's a physical component, just like, I suppose, folding your hands, kneeling, that kind of thing. Hail Marys, I guess. So if you would like to see something to that effect where I do talk about, do a profile, if you will, and have a printable on the website, is that something you guys would be interested in? Spell work, ritual type things, talking about the moons more, that sort of stuff. Or if you guys would be interested in a class of some sort, or seminar, if you would. Not just, the 2-hour bit that I do on Fridays and Saturdays each, but something else where it's like a Zoom conference where we have, there's a bit of a presentation and a Q&A session about any variety of topics, if you will. So if that's something you're interested in doing or hearing more about, let me know at thewildepaisley@gmail.com. Mentorship, that's something I've been kind of looking into a little bit more. I do have some room on my plate, sort of, where I could do that. I'm working on a book that helps me line that out a little bit more. Really, truly, I am. Which you guys don't see some of the backside of the studio here, if you will. There's a little bit of chaos. Seriously, there's a little bit of chaos. I could probably show you on Dawn's camera since Dawn had to go, but maybe not. Maybe another time. Because, I've been doing the show here for about 2.5 years. So this isn't lighthearted. It's more just real. What do inquiring minds want to hear about? What do you want to know more about? What experiences do you want to have when listening to the show? It's not just hanging out and listening to me talk about stuff and such and give out my opinion or my interpretation, et cetera, but also, what is it you guys are looking for? And because I love that you guys are here. I want you to keep coming back, and for me to have you, encourage you to keep coming back and bring your friends. I need to talk about things that are of interest to those that are listening also, not just like, this is important to me, so I'm going to talk about it tonight. So if there's things you want me to explain more or go into more detail on, I need to know. So just like every Saturday night, or not every Saturday night, but there's a Saturday in the month. I think it's the last Saturday of the month. I have it on the calendar on the website, guys. And by the way, if the website doesn't look quite right, let me know so I can fix it. Because I've been doing some updating as it thinks. So, so the first Saturday of the month, last Saturday of the month, I'm talking through. So the first Saturday of the month, we talk about dreams and interpretation and such. And then the last Sunday of the month is when we get together here locally at the Hectic Eclectic group to kind of have a meet and greet, have some coffee. Maybe this time we should do potluck. Yeah, potluck at the park. Yes, I like that idea. I will send Julia a message because she knows people. She does, actually. But that way, meet and greet and talk and let kids run amok and, and sometimes we do need that fellowship. And, often for pagans and witches, we are kind of spread out all over the country. And sometimes finding people that we can get together with and talk about things like spiritual things, being spirituality or having that listening ear, that compassionate ear. It's hard, especially with the lockdowns that have been happening over the past year and a half. There's a lot out there, but not as much as there was, say, 3 years ago because of all the lockdowns and such. So, trying to find times and places for us to get together to have the conversations and to do the things, whether it's having a ritual. I think that's important. So Leo wants stuff on using spells for healing. Lucky says it's important to meet and gather with locals, if nothing else, for mutual support and protection. Yeah, absolutely. It's also, if you have a chance to get together with locals, often you can talk about wildcrafting. Here it is, July still, and I'm already looking forward to the drawdown that happens with the lake, which is in the fall, partly because I love fall. It's my favorite time of the year. But with the drawdown at the lake, where one of the rivers feeds into the lake, the ground comes up more because they draw down the water levels to prepare for the snow load? Well, often I can go down there and get driftwood. Last year when we went, I got a bunch of bones that had been buried in the sand for a period of time, and they just look fabulous. And so, yeah, it just, I like to do crafting stuff. So being able to share that kind of information with locals is good. A live group gather, so Leo says, would you consider doing a live group gather, possibly like on YouTube or in a Zoom group, or what do you mean? Because yeah, absolutely. Just a get together to talk about things. Drone says, Drone gets wild, LOL, but isn't the average Christian. I chat with a diverse group of folks. Think of me when you hear that descriptor. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you have the opportunity to talk to people of different religious persuasions and get to know them, you will find that we're all just people. Really, truly. Really, truly. By the way, we all put our socks on the same way. You got to put your toes in first. So we're not that different across the board. And sometimes we need to, find the ways we're similar rather than focusing on our differences so much. So Leo, do I have your contact info to send you an email? Because I'll ask you some questions and we'll figure it out for a group together online. I would love to do a physical get together with everybody. I know a lot of you would have to travel some miles, but you're more than welcome. It's a little dry right now. You might want to wait until fall when it rains some more, and we can have a bonfire. Mm-hmm. Maybe for Samhain or Halloween. Yeah, a big bonfire, that'd be fun. Yeah. Because I do have some trees that need to be burned. So yes, if you're wild crafting right now, and you're in the Pacific Northwest, or actually anywhere on the West Coast, it is a little dry, so be very careful. We don't want you to cause a fire. That would be bad. Don't do that. Instead, just, find the things you need to find. You pack in stuff, make sure you pack it out, and leave the environment in better shape than you found it. That's the biggest thing right there. So that means don't start the fire. Right now in Bonner County, where I live, we have our burn ban level is such they don't even want barbecue grills with charcoal. Because the potential for a spark, everything is just tinder dry already, and it's not even August. August is generally our big fire month. So, generally speaking, I don't suggest to people to do weather work because it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for those who are unfamiliar with it, because yes, there is some potential for harm to the environment if you don't know what your weather is like. Yes, barbecues are good. Hey, Drone, if you live nearby, we can do a barbecue. I will figure it out, because barbecue, hello. And totally lost my train of thought. Drone said barbecue, and all I can think is like, barbecue. So when we're talking about weather, instead of like wishing rain or positive energy for rain, or saying, hey, change the weather so there's rain in a certain area, instead think forward to the weather for the health of the environment. What's best for the environment. As Sonia, honey, just because you don't have a passport today doesn't mean you won't have one in a month. I'm just saying. I can help with that. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Supposedly, they're going to open up the borders again so people in Canada can come back down to the States and vice versa. And if I thought Sandpoint was busy now with all the vacationers coming here, they open the borders and the Canadians needing to come down to try to get more affordable lumber will be insane. So, anyway, send me the email if you have show ideas or things you would like to see more of, like spell work, rituals, information on how to create a ritual, that kind of thing. Or focus on different herbs or stones, that sort of stuff. Just let me know. I'm curious. I want to know what you guys are looking for and what you need. So that's, to me, for spiritual health. Sometimes you have to tell the people around you what you need. Because if you don't tell me what you need, how am I going to know? Just saying. I'm not that kind of mind reader. So, anyways, that's it for the weekend. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Stay safe and have a good time. Full moon is coming up soon. So, merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And we'll see you next weekend.